Alright guys, this is a long playing review for Rescue on Fractalus on the AMSTRAD CPC, released by Activision in 1986. And gosh darn it, I love that front cover art there. Anyway, this was originally an Atari game released in 1984, with Dalali Software tasked by Activision with porting it to the Amstrad. And this was later re-released by Mastertronic on their budget label for £2.99. Now this game is notable for two things. One, the use of fractals to create the graphics in game, and secondly, it being one of the first games from the Lucasfilm Computer Division Games Group. And there's their logo. Nice. And yes, George Lucas himself did have some involvement with this game, but more on that later. We've got plenty of time to talk though. This is a very long play. I did wonder whether to just edit chunks out or not. So yeah, I'm going to basically skip forward to level 16, and we're going to see what happens when we get past level 30, because I'm read up somewhere that the Atari 8-bit version only had 30 levels, but that the Atari 5200 version had up to 99 levels. So we're going to stop after level 30, and we can skip 4 levels at a time after we start on level 16 here, and if we beat it. So if you beat a level, you can skip forward 4 levels at a time. But we're jumping straight ahead to level 16, which is the furthest you can go. Right, so on we go, and this is basically a rescue mission to the planet of Fractalus, and we're being thrown out of our mothership here and descending to the planet's surface. Various pilots and their spaceships have been shot down by the dreaded Jaggies, an alien race, and you're sent to collect up the downed pilots and take them back to the mothership. I mean, I'll go through the full story shortly. But as we start things, we've been kicked out the mothership in our Valkyrie fighter, and it's all automatic as we enter the planet, but now we've got control and we're shooting turrets and gun emplacements. Basically all you need to do is get near them and then blast. There's a huge radius on your torpedo, and that's a flying saucer there. That's basically the second type of free enemies you'll encounter in the game. Usually just fly away from the torpedoes. Right, we're very near a downed pilot. So now we're landing on the planet's surface, and we're going to turn off our systems. Just going to have a little angle around so we can actually see. There's the ship. We should be able to see the pilot run towards us now when we turn our shields off and system. There he is. Right, he's banged on the door, so he's definitely one of our pilots. Open the airlock, let him in, and off we go, looking for the next downed pilot and ship. There we go, and off we go again. So, yes, we'll go through the heads-up display and cockpit in a bit. It's a bit complicated. But basically, look to the radar, the top right of the cockpit heads-up display, where it says L and R. You need to fly around a bit, spin around, and wait for a pink dot to appear on there and flash away. There's one. There we go, and just get that pink dot sort of lined up centre. I need to fly within 2... I don't know if it's 2 miles, 2 meters, or whatever range. You can see the range there, top right, to the right of the radar. It says 6R at the moment, 5R, 0R. I think we've just flown past the ship, the pink dot and ship we were looking for originally. But I'm just getting rid of some those turrets first. So we'll have a little spin round. So R is for range. It says 5R at the moment. 4, 3. When you get to about 2, immediately press L to land your ship. Then S to turn your systems off when you've properly landed. we're just like angling the ship around so we can have a look at the down ship and see who's running towards us. Let's see, it's one of our pilots. You should bang on the door if it is him. There you go. Open the airlock. In he goes. And off we go again. And that's pretty much it to the game. The number of pilots we need to collect is... the numbers there, 08P in the very bottom right there. P for pilots. And we've got 8 more to collect. Now, the mothership will appear in the atmosphere either when you're very, very low on energy or nearly rescued all the pilots. And you can press a key on the keyboard, I think it's B for boosters, to go immediately back to the mothership. Especially if you're in trouble or whatever. And you'll fly to safety to your mothership. It's all automatic. But if you haven't collected enough pilots, then you have to basically replay the level. And here's another one. We'll go through lots of details very, very shortly. We'll try and go through the cockpit, all the rest of the dials and what they mean and stuff shortly. Thankfully, once you've landed and turned these systems off, you don't get shot at. Oh, it's a Jaggy! So that's the first shock and jump scare. There you go. If you weren't expecting that, did you jump out your seat there? So every now and again, it might not be a pilot. It could be an alien Jaggy. Yes. And that was quite shocking and scary at the time. Apparently it scared a lot of little kids when this first came out. So yeah, to kill the alien, you just need to turn your systems back on, which raises the shields and fries the Jaggy alien. That's all you need to do. It's actually really, really easy. It's literally just pressing a key on the keyboard. Just don't, by accident, open the airlock by pressing A for airlock instead of S for shields. Obviously, A and S are next to each other on the keyboard. Oh! Another alien there. So if you don't act quick enough, he will bang a few times on the window and smash the front window or whatever of your ship. And then it is game over. If a Jaggy does get inside, because you've opened the airlock, then pray to God that the mothership has already arrived. Because the only way to kill it then is by blasting off to the mothership. And once you're there... I don't know. I guess like the troops on the mothership kill the alien for you or something. So yeah, probably a good idea to get rid of a few of the turrets nearby. Again, you don't have to be super accurate. Your torpedoes kind of home in on them, even if your crosshair is nowhere near. It's still quite an impressive game for its time. The use of fractals to generate the mountain and the terrain there. More on fractals in a bit and the making of the game. I'll try my best to explain fractals. We'll see. We'll see. I'll have to pull up probably a Wikipedia page or something. That is not something that I've made notes about here in my page of notes to talk about. Anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go through the story. Oh, another alien. Yeah, let's give the full intro from the manual. And I'll read it out. They'll try to make it very filmatic and feel like a movie or something like that. There's lots of story in the manual. I'll try and pick out the best bits, but there we go. Alright, okay, here's the intro from the manual. And it goes, alright, listen up. You've got a right to know why you're here. Why they suddenly need us air pilots. A life and death struggle is raging throughout this grubby galactic quadrant. It's us against the Jaggies, and they've just upped the stakes. They've dug in on Fractalus, the most inhospitable planet this side of the Calamar system. Actually, I'm going to stop here, actually, because if you notice the colours have changed here, ladies and gentlemen. From level 16 onwards, which is our starting level we have chosen, it has like a day and night cycle on the planet, and day is slowly and quickly, actually, rather, turning into night here. and it's going to get darker and darker until it's pitch black, until the sun rises again or whatever. So yes, we will be flying blind in the dark shortly. And there you go. All right, I'll carry on with the intro. It's a neat trick. Our highly trained Ether Corp pilots were holding their own in space battles, but down on Fractalus, it's a different story. We're losing anywhere from 5 to 50 space pilots at a clip. Our job's to rescue those spacers. Go ahead, laugh, I admit it's funny. 5 years ago, the corpse couldn't phase us out fast enough. Who needs air pilots in the Ether Corps, they said. Those dogs have had their day. Well, great, but those space pilots can only fly space. What? I think the see, this has been copied. This has been copied from a PDF, which I'm reading from. There, there's lots of sort of spelling mistakes and weird words appearing and not. So this is quite hard to read out. To be fair, they'll save us in the end, but now we have to save them, especially those golden ace pilots. We can't win without them. Here's how it works. They've rigged up a mothership to ferry us within booster range of Fractalus. That's where it gets sticky. The Jaggies have got their defences on that planet, gun emplacements, sources, the works. And Fractalus is one hot cauldron of craggy mountains and canyons, covered by the worst air you've ever flown in. It's thick cyanitric acid. Okay, it'll dissolve your flight suit within minutes. Finally, there's the planet's hyper rate of rotation. The 9-minute days have driven more than one pilot nuts. But there's good to go with the bad. You'll have Valkyrie fighters, the best pure flyers we've got, and don't call them V-Wings. That's not the correct terminology. I think that's a little reference to X-Wings from Star Wars. Anyway, to make room for those space pilots, we had to strip out a lot of the offensive weaponry, but they did install a Dirac mirror shield. You can take a big hit, but you pay for each one out of your energy reserve. The one offensive weapon they left us is hot. The A&B antimatter bubble torpedo. It will destroy a target if it hits anywhere near it. That's handy, because it's really, really hard to target anything. Finally, each Valkyrie's has been fitted with the etheric navigation system, a computer-enhanced view screen which overlays your forward main window. It lets you see where you're going in Fractalus acid fog atmosphere. That's it, get going, forget the past, just go get us a future. Okay, that was a bit of a read, and there's loads more of other bits and bobs. But yeah. Good, another pilot there. It's only 4 more to rescue, and then we're on to mission 20. And then we'll do mission 24, mission 28, because we can jump forward 4 missions at a time. And then finally, we'll see what happens at mission 32 if we get, or 30, if that's the end of the game. But if it continues beyond that, then we won't bother carrying on. This is already going to be like an hour and a half long. So yeah, I'll read out what it writes for the mission here from the manual as well. Okay. It says, no time for a briefing now. Oh, that beep there signified the mothership is nearby, and it actually says that at the top there, mothership. Also, there's a flashing white and orange light centre to the top right there. That means the mothership has arrived. The light to the right there signifies that you've opened the airlock, and the white light to the left there now signifies you turned your systems and shields on, I believe. So there's 3 dots top right there. So when the middle one is flashing, it means the mothership is in the atmosphere, and we can blast off to the mothership if you want to. Actually, the light to the left is not flashing or white at the moment, so I'm not sure what one is. I'll check in the manual in a second. So let's read out what the mission is from the manual. I've already described it anyway, but I might as well read it out. We've got an hour and a half. Okay, the mission goes, no time for a briefing now. Ether Corps pilots are down, out of action, and need our help fast. First, we toss you out the mothership straight down onto the Jaggy stronghold of Fractalus. That part's all automatic, but you're on your own when you hit the atmosphere. Ah, alien! Your job is to fight through the jagged defences and find stranded pilots. They won't be jumping up and down, so use your instruments and Mark 1 eyeball to find their downed ships. They will stay inside their ships until you land in range. The rescue itself is a doddle. As soon as you shut down your engines, they'll come a running and knock on your rear airlock door. Let him in quick, or else he'll run out of air and die on you. Whatever you do, don't switch your engine back on whilst a pilot is running towards you, as they don't take kindly to being fried by a 25 gigavolt static shield. Interesting tip there, eh? Considering... Oh, we've already seen the aliens, so that's how you kill the aliens. Also, be on the lookout for ace pilots. These are recognisable by their purple helmets. Ooh, they are very rare. Not many get shot down. So, yeah, there's ace pilots, and they're worth 10 times the amount of points for picking them up. It says about landing. When you land, you will hover on your shields a few centimetres off the ground. Turn the engine off and a message pilot in range will appear. He will then run towards you. If you land beyond the downed ship, the message ship off scope will appear. Therefore, you'll have to do a U-turn and move within range. And then it just goes through how the levels are structured. So levels 1 to 3 are training levels. Level 1 has been totally cleared of jaggies. Levels 2 and 3 have a number of gun emplacements. The higher levels, levels 4 and above, have more emplacements, jaggy saucers and ace pilots. Also, the jaggy become more aggressive. Let's just see who this is quickly. There we go. On level 16, which is what we're starting on, and above, you will be subjected to Fractalus's 9 minutes day and night. When night flying, you have to rely on your instruments alone. So there you go. Yeah, pretty much what I've described so far. I think I'm going to get the manual open in full, so we're going to go through the cockpit, actually. It's probably a good idea. So, yes, we've got our score top right corner. 4,139 points so far. Let's see who this is first. Oh, it's the ace! It's the ace pilot. Unfortunately, I couldn't see him in the dark, and I've not angled my ship to be facing the down ship or whatever. But we get almost a full energy restore from the ace pilots. The ace pilots carry larger energy cells. So the normal pilots, they also carry energy cells with them, but they're quite small and only restore a little bit of your energy. An ace pilot will pretty much nearly restore your full energy. So yeah, we've got the compass top centre there, obviously heading in a southwesterly direction at the moment. What else have we got then? The wing clearance bars. So just below the main window at the top of the HUD, you see like a TIE fighter type symbol, TIE fighter, with a long brown bar to the left and nothing to the right. That means that, like, to the right of the ship at the moment is pretty much mountainside, but to the left of it, plenty of clearance. So as we take off, you'll see that expand and contract. There you go, we've got plenty of clearance now from the sides. But we've got all the pilots, so we press B on our boosters. And now we're going straight back to our motherships. Mission accomplished. So yeah, we're now docking with the mothership. And we get some score there. Nice little jingler music. And we also get an extra bonus score. I think it's 200 points times the level of difficulty. So 200 times 16. And now we can move on. Takes us to level 17, but you can skip forward 4 levels if you want to. So we're going to go up to level 20. Also, that's nice jingler music as well. Exactly the same as the original version, the Atari version. Right, we can't go any higher, so we have to choose level 20. And off we go again. So really the first thing to do with this game, if you're going to play this yourself, is to get familiar with the controls first really quickly. So you can fly around with your joystick. I find it easier to use cursor keys on the keyboard rather than the joystick, because there's several other keys on the keyboard that you need to have fairly quick access to. So the main ones are L for land. So when you get close to a pilot, it's within range of like 2 clicks or whatever, 2R in the top right corner there. Press L to land, and it's all done automatically pretty much for you. So L for land, S for systems on and off. When you've landed, turn the shields on and off. Got to turn them off to rescue pilots, turn them on to fry the aliens, and of course turn them on to take off again. A is for the airlock. We've already covered that, opening and closing the airlock. B is for boosters, to get back to the mothership. And then lastly, the less than, greater than signs on your keyboard. Actually, I've not mentioned them yet. That is your speed and thrusters. So go back to like cockpit dials on the cockpit and symbols or whatever. Your speed is all those orange dots on the far left there. So because we're landing, there's no white dots there representing the level of speed. So, or thrust, sorry, rather. So as we increase thrust, you'll see those orange dots light up as white dots. Currently, there's no white dots there. And actually, the row of white dots next to it on the far left there, that's basically your altitude level. So it says that the columns light up when your ship moves close to the ground. All lights are lit when you land. So now we're off the ground, all back to orange again. And you can see there's now one white light there, bottom left. So basically we're at one level of thrust, which I tend to usually stick at throughout most of the game. Because yeah, I'm putting the maximum thrust up there and then taking it off again. That noise there is a flying saucer, and they are suicidal and kamikaze, and they just basically fly into you. But instead of just trying to wangle your way around and try and hit them, line up your crosshairs to shoot them, it's a lot easier just to fly away from them. Definitely over like a mountainside where they can't reach you or something. Yeah. So those are the important controls. L to land, S for systems on and off, A for airlock, B for boosters, and then the less than, greater than signs for your thrusters. And once you rescue the pilot and the systems are on, you do have to press the greater than symbol to turn on your thrusters to take it off again. Otherwise you're stuck on the ground, of course. So, there you go. That's the first thing I'd do. What I did was make a tiny little text document with L equals land, S equals systems, A equals airlock, B equals boosters, and then your left and right less than, greater than signs for your thrusters. And I just kept that next to me while I was like doing the long play, just to remind me. But you will learn them pretty quickly. The manual makes it feel like it's going to be a proper flight sim, and with like flight sim games, you know, you've been there before. F-16 Combat Pilot with its massive manual or whatever, that might seem a bit off-putting. Trying to remember all those controls like on flight sims, but really it's pretty simple and it's quick to learn. But it's initially a bit off-putting. But yeah, the length of the manual is absolutely massive. It doesn't help that for each section they've included like the German and French versions, which makes it quite a cluttered manual and big one to sort of wade through. But yeah, with the length of the manual, lots of controls and a very cluttered instrument panel, it can be quite overwhelming and possibly off-putting to some people, especially to those of you familiar with complicated flight sims, like I mentioned. However, it's masking actually a very, very simple game. Indeed, one that works on the Atari 5200 console. So it can't be that complex if it works in Atari 5200. with just a joystick. So yeah, other things should I mention on the cockpit there? So yeah, okay, we've got the thrust level far left. Dangerous altitude warning lights to the right of it. We have the artificial horizon next, which is labelled AH there. You can see me banking and turning. Not really that useful to us. Next, we have our altimeter. So the pink bar represents the altitude of the terrain. The blue bar shows your ship's actual altitude. So I'm actually hitting the ground there almost. Now I'm not. The ground's really far below me. So yeah, your altitude above the ground is determined by the amount of light blue showing there. So, and as the manual says here, if there isn't any light blue, you either landed or you crashed, or about to. There you go. Right, in the middle there, centre window, we've got the targeting scope. This targets jaggy gun emplacements and saucers. And also the down ships. When there is more than one object, the crosshairs target the closest one. Again, it seems rather pointless when you got the targeting crosshairs in the main window, but objects will appear on there and might make it a little easier to hit them. So maybe it does help a little. What else? Okay, so then we've got the below the center crosshairs in the cockpit. You got a load of flashing orange and white lights there. This is called the enemy lock-on indicator. These lights flash, as the manual says, while the lock-on system is analysing stray radiation. When an enemy gun emplacement begins to lock onto your ship, these lights go out, then turn on again one by one, starting at left. When all 6 lights are on, the gun emplacements will fire. You can cause gun emplacements to lose lock by evasive manoeuvring. So, yeah, when those lights are full then at the bottom there, that's when a gun emplacement will fire on you. Currently, one's trying to lock onto me and struggling. And there you go. And then, of course, to the right there, the green bar is your energy level indicator. And the manual says displays the energy level and changes colour as your energy level is depleted. Flashes and beeps when it gets critically low. Additional energy is available from each rescued pilot's energy cell. Your energy cells will be completely recharged each time you return to the mothership. But then again, you have to start the whole level over again. So, yeah. Right. Let's see. So then you to the right of the green energy bar, we've talked about this already, is the long range scanner. So you can see there's a pink flashing dot right ahead of us. So we're going to go in a straight line towards it. I'll read what the manual says. The scanner picks up the pilot's emergency beacon and displays it as a blip. The V shape on the scanner shows the field of view in front of your ship. Your position is at the bottom of the V. When you're within 2 units of a downed pilot, the scanner will begin flashing and beeping continuously, as we probably just saw and heard. Then you can pick up the pilot. Right. Okay. So, we've got 3 orange lights at the top there. We just opened the airlock and the far right light has turned to white. Now the light to the far left, we talked about this earlier. That is the shields on light, actually, according to the manual. So when it's orange, the shields are on, and they're obviously the draining power as well at the same time. So the shields are on, and then the orange light right in the middle of the 3 lights is the mothership indicator, which we talked about earlier. Right. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a sore throat today. Fried the jaggy there. Awesome. And then we'll just go through the the digits and letters there on the far right. So the top one, 0R. Well, R stands for range, it's pilot. So we don't have a pilot in view at the moment, so it just displays 0. But when the long range scanner picks up 1, it should start counting down from 9. There you go, it's in 3R, so we're in with range of 2, so already hitting the landing there. We probably just shot past it a little bit, might have to spin around a bit. You can still shoot things whilst you're landing, by the way, as well. Oh, I'm getting hit quite badly there. So yeah, we've just gone past the ship, so we need to sort of spin around. There it is. That should be fine there. Yeah, the pilot's coming now. Oh yes, E. It says 20E. Now it says 21E. That's enemies destroyed. So we've destroyed 21E. 21 enemies. And then the bottom one there, 06P, is the pilot, quota and rescued. It shows the number of pilots you must rescue and bring back to the mothership in order to advance to the next level. Each time you pick up a pilot, this number is decreased. It flashes when you've reached your quota and counts the number of pilots you've rescued beyond your quota. An admiral feat. So actually, you can keep going forever and ever on a level, I believe. If you so wanted to. I think basically there's not like a finite number of pilots to rescue on each level. You can just keep going and going and going. So you'll never be lost looking for like one single pilot left on the planet and never knowing where it is and just flying around for hours and hours. You will soon come across another pilot fairly quickly. Right, so there we go. Hopefully that's fairly clear what's going on in the cockpit there. That's probably the most complicated bit of the game, working out what all the dials and things symbolise. But generally you can pretty much ignore them apart from the long range scanner and range. And obviously now we're flying at night, so I'm keeping my altitude quite high at the moment. But if you're too high up though, you won't be able to land. It will tell you you're too high up. Luckily I wasn't too bad there. Okay, what else from our notes then? Well actually, let's talk about the coders of the game. And a bit more about the story of the making of. So the original coders... fry the jaggy there. So the original coders were David Fox, Lauren Carpenter, Charlie Kellner, Peter Langston, and Gary Winnick. And I think probably the most notable person there was the Lauren Carpenter. Now Lauren had worked on the Genesis computer graphic generated sequence in the movie Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and had used fractals to generate the landscape in that. One of the first sort of real proper computer graphics and computer generated scenes in a movie. So, but yes, he'd use fractals for that. And indeed, it was a conversation between Lauren and David to see whether the same effect would be possible on a humble home computer. That sort of sparked things off here. A day later, Lauren had figured it out. A further few days later, Lauren had acquired an Atari 800, learned assembly language, and had a working demo. What a genius. Now, most of the people working on the game were new to the gaming industry and had just started at basically Lucasfilm Games. And were experimenting around and just learning what they could do on a computer. And it's amazing what came out of it at the time. This is the game that stuck and became one of the very, very first Lucasfilm games and was a huge hit. So yeah, I think actually, guys, as well, there's a very, very good making of the game article in Retro Gamer magazine. I think it's issue 44 or something, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it in your collections or online somewhere. So the AMSTRAD conversion was done by Dalali Software, responsible before Fractalus for the truly excellent Boulder Dash conversion, and then Dynamite Dan conversion, and a movie license in Biggles. One of my sort of guilty pleasures, that one. Now, Delali still exists today, according to Company's House. And digging further, there's a website for dalali.co.uk, which has a postal address that matches the one at Company's House, so we know it's the same company. And it loads a website for something called Touch Finder, Internet Touch and Publishing Services. Although it looks like it's a website made in the late 1990s, so they're probably dormant. It seems like they're offering website design and development services and some service for touchscreen stuff for use at exhibitions. Looks like the Touchfinder stuff has been dormant for many, many years, though. Anyway, Hanan Samara, the director of Dalali, when they were a game programming house, and whilst this game was being made, now owns an award-winning Arabian food company called Terra Rossa in Sutton. Now, how's that for deep research? But unfortunately, guys, I don't know the names of the programmers that worked at Delali and worked on the AMSTRAD version, sadly. So I couldn't find out those details. Not unless anyone who worked at Delali is watching this video and wants to come forward in the comments. Then I'll try and credit appropriately on the video and all the right places. But they did some very, very good work. I did love their Boulder Dash conversion. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Dynamite Dan I've not really played before, and I really enjoy that Biggles game and movie. Guilty pleasure, as I said. Anyway, but well done, Dalali Software. Alright, let's talk about the other versions of the game. So, the original version was the Atari 5200 and Atari 8-bit home computer versions. Now, the Atari 5200, well, this seems to run actually very slightly faster, also a slightly higher frame rate than the AMSTRAD CPC version. Although, to be fair, it's hard to make out. Different colours are used here, with an olive green for the mountains and a dirty yellow for the sky. But that may change as it goes from day to night. I'm not sure. Not seen that far. But yeah, very, very impressive for the Atari 5200. Now, if we move on to the Atari 8-bit versions, this has a short additional intro sequence of a ship taking off from the mothership before the title screen. Otherwise, it's identical to the 5200 version, apart from the colours being slightly different again. This time the mountains and terrain are brown and the sky is a salmon pink kind of colour. At least when it's like full daytime. But again, extremely, extremely impressive. And probably is looking like the best two versions of the game to play, the original ones. This also appeared on the Apple II. So probably this is probably the weakest version. Definitely in terms of sound and graphics. The main game is a horrible brown and orange in a stippling effect. It looks awful, just trust me. And there's barely much audio in the game. It also plays pretty slow, a lot slower than the AMSTRAD version. Moving on to the ZX Spectrum. So this has the speed and frame rate of the AMSTRAD version, and I think Delali worked on this too. But with a horrible use of colours and pretty much a complete lack of audio. That the Apple II version has. So it only just ranks above the Apple II version, but it's alright. Commodore 64. Surprisingly, the music isn't as good as the CPC version, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. But they really dropped the ball with the SID chip there. Otherwise, the in-game sound effects are great. But I'm surprised to find it doesn't move as fast or as smooth as the Atari originals. Instead, it's like the CPC version for sort of speed and frame rate. Although, to be fair, it looks like the game window is a bit bigger. It uses brown for the terrain and a dirty yellow for the sky. So it doesn't look quite as nice. Maybe the AMSTRAD version looks more garish. But anyway, but only because it has a larger view of the game would I put this just a notch above the CPC version. And lastly, a computer I don't know much about, and I may be getting the wrong model here. There's different websites list different versions of this computer as having the Rescue on Fractalus version, but the TRS-80 Coco. So hopefully I've got the right computer here. That's the last version of the game. The sound and music are rather poor here, but the cockpit and console looks the nicest. Even nicer than the Atari versions graphically, but plays like the Apple II version in terms of how the terrain looks and moves. So probably the Apple II is the weakest, followed by the TRS-80 and ZX Spectrum. The C6, well, actually no, probably, I'd say, yeah, the Atari originals are the best. Commodore 64 version comes in second, with the CPC version very, very close behind. Oh yeah, you're supposed to be able to destroy the ships that are left behind there. I don't know why that's not hitting there, but anyway. I don't know if you get any extra points. The manual tells you to destroy the ships after you've picked up the pilots, to not let the Jaggies get hold of your technology or something. But it doesn't really matter, so you can just leave them. So yeah, first place goes to the Atari original, second the Commodore 64, CPC version very, very close behind the Commodore 64 one in third place. And next would be probably actually the TRS-80 version, actually, with then the Specky with the Apple II version in last. That's my kind of ranking order. Okay, have a look at my notes here to see what else to mention. So yeah, guys, as you can see, this is a very long play. For example, I looked at there's very few long plays of this game on YouTube, and there isn't really one reporting to be a long play video. It's just sort of, here's some gameplay footage for as long as possible. Indeed, actually, I watched a video of one guy playing the Atari 5200 version, I think, and it took a guy 5 hours 40 minutes on YouTube to get to level 24, playing each level one at a time. So we skip forward to level 16, and then we're jumping forward the maximum amount of 4 levels at a time. And well, he did them one at a time, and it took him nearly 6 hours to get past level 24. That is nuts. I don't see any other long play videos on YouTube, so I was very, very keen to do one myself. But if this game goes up to level 99, I'm not gonna bother. But I'm still gonna call this a long play video. I think I could have just done level 16 and been done with it, because then you've pretty much seen everything in the game. It's the first level where the last new thing happens, which is the day to night to day cycle on the planet. After that, there's nothing much else to see. It just gets slightly harder, with more pilots to pick up and more gun emplacements on the mountainside. But yeah, when this came out, in 1984, this was highly impressive. I mean, we've stepped into an era of truly innovative games, trying something different and experimenting round. This is quite a leap from, say, the Pac-Man, Space Invaders and Galaxians of, a few years previous. In my opinion, anyway. Oh, we can fire our boosters. We've picked up all the pilots on this level. And here we go, docking with the mothership. Very nicely presented. Love graphics like that. That's cool. Plenty of bonus score there. And now we after about, I don't know, 40 minutes-ish of playtime, we can now jump to level 24, which took that guy, as mentioned earlier, 5 hours, 40 minutes to get to, doing one level at a time. And I think that's a bit of a problem with this game. Perhaps the levels take too long to complete, or there's too many levels. And there's perhaps not enough variety. it's all rather overly simple, actually. With the when you have like this ridiculous manual with pages and pages and pages of stuff, and all it boils down to is really like a few controls and just landing, picking up a pilot. It might be a pilot, it might be a baddie, taking off, shooting a few gun emplacements, and get your quota, and that's it. Move on. It just takes so long to bloody do. Like now, we've got 14 pilots we've got to rescue. This is going to take quite some time. So, when I'm playing this game and on this long play, I'm a bit reckless. Generally, I just want to get through the level as quickly as possible. Indeed, the longer you take on a level, the more your energy is going to be drained by your shields, but also by the gun emplacements. You know, you're not going to destroy every gun emplacement on the planet. In fact, I think they're probably kind of randomly generated anyway. So yeah, basically, it gets very repetitive after a while. I think at this point, most people would be probably done with the game and be moving on. So yeah, it's fun for a quick blast, absolutely. And very, very impressive for its time it is too. Very innovative, as I said. But it's extremely impressive, the techniques used here, which is like the use of fractals to generate the mountainsides we mentioned earlier. I mean, if I try and explain fractals, I'm going to struggle. But I'll try. I'm not really a mathematician at all. So I found a decent website called fractalfoundation.org, and they define a fractal as: a fractal is a never-ending pattern. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. They are created by repeating a simple process over and over in an ongoing feedback loop. Driven by recursion, fractals are images of dynamic systems, the pictures of chaos. Geometrically, they exist in between our familiar dimensions. Fractal patterns are extremely familiar since nature is full of fractals. For instance, trees, rivers, coastlines, mountains, clouds, seashells, hurricanes, etc. Abstract fractals, such as the Mandelbrot set, can be generated by a computer calculating a simple equation over and over. So, did you take all that in? If not, go to fractalfoundation.org and have a read of that yourself. But I'll try again in more simple terms. So, a fractal is a never-ending pattern that repeats itself at different scales. So, the more you zoom in, the more pattern you see emerging and will continue to emerge. Okay, so this is why the mountains are fractally generated, because it just never ends, if that makes sense. This property is called self-similarity. Anyway, although fractals are very complex, they are made by repeating a simple process. So the process itself is quite simple, but getting something quite specific, like a mountain range, as we're seeing here, is quite difficult and very, very clever. But if we can actually find fractals in nature. So natural fractals include sort of branching patterns like trees, river networks, lightning bolts being a good example, blood vessels, etc., and spiral patterns like seashells, hurricanes, and galaxies. Well, what about in mathematics? Well, mathematical fractals like the Mandelbrot set are formed by calculating a simple equation thousands of times, feeding the answer back into the start. These fractals are infinitely complex, meaning we can zoom in forever. So we have basically a forever generating mounting and terrain side in this game. So So it's basically repeatedly a tremendously simple calculation. Simplicity leads to complexity, says the fractalfoundation.org website. And there you go. It's about the best I can do to describe it for you guys. I don't quite fully understand it, but I kind of get the gist of it. But it's a very, very clever technique. Not really been reused to my knowledge in other games, but it probably has been. But there you go. But it does result here, certainly on an 8-bit system, with a quite low frame rate. And it does make for some awkward flying. And the game is very, very generous with you. I mean, I am bashing into mountain sides and crashing all the time. And I'm not losing much energy. And I guess they've adjusted that because of that fact. Because we are at such a low frame rate. I mean, you can't expect like absolutely perfect flying. And certainly the same goes with like shooting things. So alright, let's talk about the enemies then and like how we deal with them, because that sort of feeds in quite nicely to that. First of all, so essentially there are only 3 types of enemies, as we've seen. Gun emplacements, which I'm shooting at now, suicidal saucers, and the Jaggies themselves masquerading as downed pilots. Now, for these gun emplacements, you do need to be fairly close to them, but even if your crosshairs aren't anywhere near them, your torpedoes will generally hit. They have quite a range. In fact, the manual earlier calls them like bubble torpedoes or something. And yeah, there's quite a range on them, and in terms of like where your crosshairs are, and they seemingly sort of home in on the target. And yeah, because I guess that's why they've done it like that, because of the frame rate and how hard it is to accurately fly the Valkyrie and get your crosshairs actually lined up perfectly with a target. It's next to impossible. Otherwise you'd end up never hitting anything in the game if you had to get it in right in the centre of your crosshairs. And it would just been awful gameplay to have like pixel perfect shooting in your targeting or whatever. So your second type of enemies are the saucers, and they're a strange one, and they're even harder to target. I think the best thing to do is often just try and fly away from them as best you can. Mostly I just keep flying and ignore them, but if they do get close enough and they're in your viewing window, wherever they are, if you fire your torpedoes, they often get hit and blow up. So just keep firing away, blasting all the time if you can, really. And then we come to our third type of enemies, the Jaggies. Now, Jaggy is short for Jahaga Re Katchatkika or something. No, I'll read that again. Katchaki. So it's short for Jahaga Re Katchaki. There you go. That's their full names. And so they're called Jaggies for short. Actually, originally, this game was actually called Behind Jaggy Lines. It's a name for both the aliens in the game, but also a reference to the jagged lines created for the terrain and other graphics. But actually, I should just go off tangent again a little bit more. The first working title for the game was Rebel Rescue, with an eye on a possible Star Wars tie-in, but the rights to the Star Wars games had already been sold externally to the Parker brothers, so that wasn't possible. Oh, then we could come on to George Lucas, actually. And let's talk about the Jaggies again quickly. So, as we've seen, the Jaggies, the aliens, your third enemy type in the game, and last one, they're quite simple. When they bang on your window, just simply turn on your systems, raise your shields, and fry them. Job done. Take too long and they'll smash through the front screen and it's game over. And I think I will show a clip of that happening at the very end of this video, so you can skip forward if you want to see that or whatever. So, and as I said earlier, you can also accidentally open the airlock and let them in. There they are, there's one now. If you do, they will slowly destroy the ship, tearing it to bits. And the only way to kill them is if the mothership has arrived and you blast off home. It will fry them. Oh, and in earlier levels, you can tell they're Jaggies because of their green heads as they run up to your ship. But from where we start on level 16, they get sneaky and put on white helmets like our pilots to disguise themselves. There you go. So yeah, we were just talking a second ago about a possible Star Wars tie-in. This is, of course, pretty much the first game from Lucasfilm Games. So, what was George Lucas's contribution to this? It's actually his contribution was one of the most memorable and best bits of the whole game. His was the idea that some of the pilots could be aliens in disguise, providing the earliest and best jump scare in gaming history, in my opinion. Interestingly, they kept this out of the manual and advertising, so it truly would be a surprise. And apparently scared the life out of some small children. Even sort of teenagers and young adults got scared by it, according to reports at the time, although I don't know if that's just clever marketing stuff anyway. But also, George Lucas contributed the weapon system to the game. Initially, like the first prototype, you couldn't fire torpedoes, and there were just enemy ships that you could only destroy by trick flying, causing them to crash into the mountains. Now, George only visited and tried the game once, but was quick to ask, "Where's the fire button?" And well, you listened to George Lucas back then, and you did as he said. So, hence, we've got the firing system, and also the greatest jump scare, and the first and earliest jump scare in gaming history, with the Jaggies banging on the window there. So there we go. Thank you, George Lucas. So, what were the magazine reviews at the time like? Well, I just looked for the AMSTRAD Action review, as I always do in my long plays. I don't look at any other magazines. And, well, AMSTRAD Action was the magazine. If you're an Amstrad fan to read, there were several other Amstrad magazines, but Amstrad Action was the best one by a mile. We all know that. So this was reviewed in issue 13, October 1986 issue of Amstrad Action. They were impressed by the use of fractal graphics, but marked it down on the repetitive gameplay and oversteer on the controls. I mean, I have to agree on those 2 points. I mean, with the oversteer, it's basically the really small and low frame rate, basically causing that you're skipping quite a lot of frames and smoothness, and your ship is kind of like lurching around the environment quite a bit. So yeah, I have to agree with them there. And well, for scores, they gave the graphics 71%, Sonics 55%, grab factor 64%, stain power 77%, and an overall AA rating of 71%, which I think is pretty fair. It's pretty fair. I mean, what do I think to this? Let's think then. Do I like the graphics? The graphics are what they are because of how the game has been made. And that's because of the use of fractals. A very, very clever programming technique, expertly implemented, but 8-bit computers at the time just didn't have the processing grunt to really, truly process everything and get a really, really nice and smooth frame rate. Won't be until 16-bit machines where that's probably possible. So the graphics are a byproduct of the technology and the techniques being used. So the graphics have to be quite simple. We've got quite a small plane window, and we've got some orange mountains of like black jagged lines, basically, and some green and blue blobs. However, the Jaggy graphic of the Jaggy banging on the window, not only does that look great as a sprite, but it's really excellently animated, and for most people and everyone really, it's the best touch and thing in the game. So that I do like. I quite like the presentation between the levels with exiting the mothership and docking with the mothership and choosing your level and all that kind of stuff. That's quite nicely done, if rather basic. Again, with the cockpit, the cockpit looks pretty much identical to the Atari original, but the Amstrad is capable of much better graphics. So I do wonder if they could perhaps have souped up the cockpit a little bit more and made it a little bit easier to sort of pick up and understand. It's just too many dials and things flashing at you. Perhaps it might be a bit overwhelming for some people and not wanting to wade through an absolutely massive manual. But yeah, I'll come back to that. Yeah. Sonics wise, I like the jingles and music. I mean, they're just identical, pretty much, to the Atari original music. But again, I think that maybe there was room on the AMSTRAD version to add extra longer music. Maybe some music in game. I don't know. But the sound effects are decent. Nice shooty and blasty sound effects and spaceship thruster noises and all that kind of stuff. I quite like it. I quite like the Sonics, actually. And the little jingles of music are very, very nice. I mean, weirdly, AMSTRAD Action rated the grab factor lower than the stain power. I'm the reverse. Once I got over the initial overwhelmingness of, oh god, there's all these controls to remember, a big huge manual, this cockpit's really complicated. Once I got over that and worked out, right, there's only a few controls I need to remember, and they're pretty simple to remember once you've done it a few times. Oh, this is actually a really, really, really simple game. And it did grab me, and I was like, oh, now I've got the gist of it, after spending like 5 minutes with it, or 10 minutes. Which we did on an AMStream, one of my weekly AMSTRAD CPC live stream on a Friday. There, cheap plug. Got to get them in. Someone requested I play this. I believe it was Mr. Retro Unlim himself, Steve. So shout out to Steve. You're responsible for this long play, mate. Hope you like it. I was a bit resistant in playing it because I knew they'll be like, oh, look at the huge manual, I don't know the controls. But after 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I've got the idea of the game. As we blast off to the mothership here, we've just completed the level. I'm really enjoying the game. And I wanted to play more and more of it. And swore then and then I'd look to do a long play of it. At least in my mind. But staying power. I think once you've done a level, maybe 2 levels tops, you're kind of done with the game. Skip forward to level 16, see if you can beat level 16, and you're pretty much set. And there's not much more compulsion to come back to the game. Do you want a high score chase? See how high a level you can reach, but hey, you know, it took a guy 5 hours 40 minutes to go from level 1 to level 24 without skipping any levels. Like, ouch. How many levels are there in the game? We'll find out shortly, as we're about to hit level 28. And if I remember, guys, I said at the start of the video that I found on an Atari website that the Atari 8-bit home computer versions have 30 levels. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I'm not going to sit through practicing the Atari version as well, just to find out. But we're going to find out on the AMSTRAD version. And, well, when we complete this next level, and if we can select beyond level 30, then that's where we'll end things. But, yeah, so staying power I'd rate maybe quite low. But it's fun for a quick blast. And it's impressive to look at, and it's an important piece of gaming history that should be preserved. So, in summary, oh god, 16 pilots on level 28 to rescue, god. So in summary, Rescue on Fractalus seems daunting at first, with a huge, unnecessarily long manual, lots of keyboard controls, cluttered and confusing cockpit, but it's actually a very simple and forgiving game. I mean, I've crashed full on into mountainsides and not exploded. Like now, I've only lost a little bit of energy. So I fly around quite carefree. But if you can get over the initial overwhelming feeling, it's a really quick to pick up and play game and to have a blast with. However, it gets repetitive very quickly and is overly long. And maybe a set number of levels would have been better. Say only 5 to 10 levels max, with bigger increments in difficulty jumps. I mean, I started on level 16 and didn't find it too hard at all. And yeah, it also needs more things to do and variety. I mean, I think you'll get bored fairly quickly. So, a fairly impressive technical achievement, and rather innovative and different for its time. So pick it up for a quick blast on level 16, and then maybe leave it there once you beat level 16. I don't know. So with that in mind, I'm going to give my review score now. I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's fair. If I was reviewing this in 1984, the Atari version, or 86, the AMSTRAD version, it would have probably rated a lot higher. But bigger and better and more cleverer games have come along since. But for its time, quite a breakthrough and an impressive achievement for sure. Right, so I've got past the long past the hour mark on the video there. Quite impressive, managed to talk for this long. But I have pretty much ran out of notes and things to say here. I'll have a quick scan through the manual to see if there's anything I've missed. I don't think so. Yeah, just like the scoring system. Is anyone actually interested in that? Okay, I'll tell you anyway. So each second of flight gives you 1 point. You get 100 points for destroying a gun emplacement. You get 250 points for destroying a saucer. 200 points for picking up a pilot. 2,000 points for picking up an ace pilot. Doesn't tell you the score value for killing a Jaggy, like we just did. But again, they kept it secret in the manual and all that kind of stuff, so it's a surprise. So pilot return to mothership bonus is 500, so it must be 500 per pilot, I think. And there's a pilot returned over quota bonus of 1,000 points, and level completed bonus of level number times 200. So when we complete this level, we'll get 28 times 200 points. Yes, right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Not sure there's anything else here to talk about then, from the manual at least. There you go, fried another Jaggy. Oh yes, of course, I have mentioned this earlier, but just in case I didn't. So, if you don't collect your full quota of pilots before returning to the mothership, you don't get any bonus, nor can you proceed to the next level. Oh, actually, you also lose all your score you've got if you decide to go down a level. Then again, why would you want to do that? I don't know, maybe you started too high and found it too difficult. I don't know, but there you go. Another minor thing to mention there. So don't forget that, like, each rescued pilot brings with them their energy cell to restore your energy. So my tactic throughout all these levels so far is maybe shoot the odd gun turret here and there, but just quickly go as quick as possible to the next down pilot and pick them up. Because the energy lost doing so, if you're fairly quick, will get replenished. The problem occurs where you land somewhere, there's lots of gun turrets around which you haven't seen, and you keep picking up, well, you keep getting greeted by Jaggies and not pilots to rescue, and therefore you're not regaining your energy. See, we've just had like 2 or 3 Jaggies in a row there, and we're not progressing. We've still got 13 pilots to rescue here. That's going to take some time, and we're down 2/3 on our energy level. Well, let's see what the next pilot, how much energy restore we get from that. There's one coming up here. 6 clicks away. 5, 4, 3. And I'm actually probably hitting the L key already when I'm on about 3R, heading into 2R and starting landing. If you press the land key too late, you'll like shoot past the target and have to spin around, and that wastes precious energy. Got a little bit of an energy restore there, not much. Not to tide us over. Oh, it's turning to night now already. Come on, we want a pilot. Energy's nearly down to half. And it's a bloody Jaggy. So, yeah, maybe past this level, perhaps we do want to take out a few more gun emplacements. But my tactic has always been just to fly as quickly as possible to the next pilot. Luckily, we've got another one. Ooh, the saucer there hit us, I think. Ouch. It's really drained our energy. Very, very low. Just over a third of the energy left. How much does this restore? Alright, we've gone back up to nearly halfway. So a fair amount restored there. As you can see, there's lots of gun emplacements. But just keep firing away as you're flying as well. You never know what you might hit. Remember, there's quite a large range on your torpedoes in terms of where your targeting is in the window. It's just distance away from the gun emplacements where you can't hit them. Not much energy back there. So maybe the energy cells can... Maybe the energy cell value can like vary for each pilot you've picked up. Who knows? Cool, another pilot. Quickly land. Good stuff. And yeah, you can't get hit by gun emplacements when you've landed and turned your shields off, bizarrely. Maybe it's because they can't target you anymore. God, I love that Jackie design. I remember at the end of the video we'll show some footage of a Jackie smashing the window and what happens then. Hopefully we can avoid that saucer. So yeah, you saw there the white bars all at the bottom all lit up there, which means I've been locked on by gun emplacement. So watch those bars below the centre bit. Okay, you restored a bit of energy, but it's slowly been whittled down. Okay, come on, please be a pilot. Yes. Cool, give us loads of energy restore. Not bad. It's that saucer flying into us that proper screwed us. Really suicidal creatures, these Jaggies. So just to remind you guys, this game was originally called Behind Jaggy Lines, and it was basically a reference to the jagged lines of the terrain and bits in the cockpit and all that kind of stuff. Someone at Lucasfilm demanded a name change, so Rescue on Fractalus it became, but the aliens were called the Jaggies, perhaps as a compromise or something. Which is short for Jahaga Re Katchatki. That's the full name of the aliens. Oh, the mothership's here. So if we wanted to escape, we could do so now. But now we're going to go. Look at that! Even got the animation of the character in the dark, and the character sprite there is even animated accordingly and coloured accordingly to the dark. So even there, you can only just make out their helmet and their hands as they're running. So that's a really nice touch. I like that. And thankfully, we've got quite a few pilots all very, very close together. And our energy level is slowly climbing back up because of that. That's excellent. What's it going to be? Another bloody Jaggy. But only 6 more pilots to get. Ooh, thankfully that saucer completely missed us. Cool, now 5 more pilots to go. And then we'll find out if we've beaten the game or not. And another pilot really, really close to the last down pilot. Excellent. That's quite good luck there, actually. Yes, there we go. 4 more to go. Oh. So guys, I'm interested to know what you think to this game in the comments as well on the video. Please post your thoughts. Are you impressed by this game? Have you played it? Did you enjoy it? I know for several of you it's one of your favourite games. Looking at you, Retro and Lim. I'd love to know your thoughts on what you would score this game out of 10 as well. There we go, another pilot, only 3 more to go. Woohoo! But yeah, I'd love to know your feedback and scores and what you think to this game. What else do you think they could have done to the game to make it more appealing as well? I mean, I am kind of struggling to think of real strong criticisms that are just a bit unfair because, it's Fractal graphics. Oh, it's the Ace! But we don't get to see his purple helmet. Ooh, but yeah, ooh, misses. But I am struggling to think of real strong criticisms when it's Fractal graphics running on an 8-bit home computer. Even if it's a simple calculation, it's still going to be incredibly, CPU consuming and all that kind of stuff. I would have thought anyway. Thankfully that Ace pilot restored pretty much nearly all our energy there, so that was very, very useful. But also very rare to come across, so again with the saucers, you're just probably best avoiding them and flying away from them as best you can. I hardly increased my speed there, and I still was able to avoid that saucer. I just spun around 90 degrees. Excellent. Hopefully it's another pilot. Oh, it's never bloody Jaggy. Come on, we've only got 2 more to go. Oh, there's another one nearby. Yeah, being hit by one of the laser blasts can sort of send you off course a little bit as well. So watch out for that. Right, is it a Jaggy in disguise though? Cool, it's a pilot. We've only got 1 more to rescue. And the mothership is awaiting. And we've got over half our energy, so... Oh, cool, here's the next one. Getting so lucky they've spawned all very, very close together. Yes, it's a pilot! Get him in quick, and we can blast off to the mothership. Firing boosters, and off we go. So now, we're going to find out, very, very shortly, if there's a final level 30. But if it goes beyond level 30, well, we're not going to continue. I think 30 levels is more than enough. And certainly more than enough to call it a long play. So we'll get a bonus score and a little jingle of music, and then we'll find out. Wow, quite a score there now. So let's find out. Is level 30 the final level, or does it go past level 30? We'll have listened to the jingle of music again quickly, because it's good and we like it. Right, here's the moment of truth. Level 30? No! Look, it goes beyond level 30. Level 31. Level 32. Oh, that sucks. Well, guys, I'm going no further in the long play. We'll fire up level 32, and I'll show you what happens then with what a Jaggy can do to your Valkyrie ship, and the game over. But there we go. GG's. That was Rescue on Fractalus. And yes, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10 score overall. And we'll just fly around, find a pilot. Hopefully it'll be a Jaggy, and we'll see what happens when he smashes the window of the ship open. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed and appreciated all the hard work that's gone into this one. I did have a couple of blasts actually at level 32, and there are a ton of airlocks now, and they do lock on very, very quickly to you. Oh, look at the energy level going down. Going down very quickly. Already at like nearly halfway. Yikes. So let's see. Is this going to be a pilot or is it going to be a Jaggy? It's actually a bloody pilot. Okay. And there's 18 of them to rescue on this level. Blimey. Alright, let's find another pilot. Hopefully it's a Jaggy and we can see what happens then. But I thought I'd show you this footage of level 32 anyway. How difficult it is. And how easy it is to hit targets as well. That was nowhere near my crosshairs. And I blew up that gun emplacement. Right, keep on flying here. Oh, been knocked off course. Wow, lots of gun emplacements, and they're all firing on me really, really quickly. So yeah, the difficulty level has been really stepped up here. And I pretty much just flew into the mountainside there. And managed to survive. Some very, very good shields on this ship. See what happens if you fly into the mountainside there. Energy is really, really low. So yeah, it does actually get quite hard now. I just wish you could probably skip to this level from the start. Not have to wade through nearly an hour and a half just to get here. There we go. Nearly dead. I'm about to die. Gotta get my systems off just in time. Let's see if it's a Jaggy. I'm gonna die anyway. As soon as I take off. It's a Jaggy! And there you go. He smashed my window. Didn't take him long to do with my energy being so low. And it's game over. And here's the game over music. And there you go. Final score 165,045. So there you go, guys. 7.5 out of 10 from me. I'm calling this long play there. This could go up to level 99 and no one wants to sit through many hours of that. So this is my long play video. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Leave a thumbs up and a like and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.